Trial time. I'm not really going to go through the truth bullets or anything or do any sort of too much prep, just because I already said that I think it's Mitch. That would be short for Mitsuhiro Higa, the Super High School level soccer player, and I'm going to stick to that. I'm like pretty sure it's going to be Mitch, so yeah, that's that. Now, I will look through before the end, not necessarily read them out loud, but just kind of show the screens for the pre-time events that I've completed before I go into the trial. Just in case of what could potentially happen when I'm done with this trial in this Chapter 1 demo. I don't know what happens. I don't know if it just ends or it goes back to being in Korean or what happens. So, report card. We have Kinji. Next page. So just two pages on Kinji, and then I have, who is it? Mikako. I have one page on Mikako. And that's it, I think. I just had to talk to everybody, though. The class trial will start soon. We did our best, so let's hope that luck is on our side. Damn, it's really gotten to this. Can we even make it back here alive? Dead or alive? Let's find out. Let's find out live. She must be really hard to translate. Don't get me wrong, I know this ain't the right time, but wasn't that one mad personality switch? I almost fell on my knees when I saw that too. You mean the lawyer? Well, useless. Ready to uncover the truth? Like I said multiple times, I have no intention to help you out. Have fun struggling. Whether you like it or not, we need to do this. Let's go. Leiju must really have an intense dislike for professors. Kyoko will be watching us from up above. Let's find her murderer and help her find peace. Phew, I've tried my best, but I'm still not sure on this. I might need to hear what the rest of you have found out to get a grip on it. Come on, folks. Move, move, move. We've got no time to waste waiting for you slowpokes. I wonder how and why Monokuma is making us do this. Now I suppose we have more important matters to handle. To harm another human being means to defy heavenly law. Whoever committed the act must be ready to answer for their sin. Let's go. It's gonna be a luxury doing a Fangen trial in English, and I have to worry about janky translating. Let's hit it! We'll reveal the truth, right? In this trial? Right, in this trial to find Kyoka's murderer. And the culprit is... in that order. One of us. One of us is a murderer. I don't want to believe it, but thinking here won't change anything. Like Akane said, I'll hit it first. And leave the thoughts for later. The elevator descends underground with a series of clinks and clangs. Gosh, this is gonna take forever. Which floor are we on? This feels like we're going somewhere we can never come back from. Not concerned about our uneasiness at all, the elevator slowly approaches destination. We are here. He has a double chair for some reason. I guess it's because Leiju decided to make the courtroom an even number of units across. Ooh-poo-poo, finally, I was dying to see y'all. What is this place? It looks so flashy. They set this special courtroom just for you guys. Isn't it sick? Other courtrooms would be nothing compared to this. For some reason, I'm saying Monokuma's lines very normally, which is not how you're supposed to do this when you do these Let's Play. So let me try that again. Well, I have to try. There's already been 2 Monokuma lines, but I can at least back up to the most recent one. I set this special courtroom just for you guys. Isn't it sick? Other courtrooms would be nothing compared to this. I don't know how to voice this. What the hell are you speaking? You call this a court? You better be kidding. This is a contempt of court. Well, enough talking. Let's get over this quick. Stand where your name is written. It's so chaotic looking. Like that the characters don't line up with the pedestals very well at all. Is everyone ready? We shall begin in a moment. Behold, the class trial. I noticed that going down the elevator, we didn't get any like the deadlies. A circular arrangement where we can see each other's face directly. Despite Monokuma's mischievous, almost ridiculous attitude. It is mischievous, okay. Almost ridiculous attitude, there was a strange tension going around here. Kyoka, she was a playful friend, and though somewhat lazy at times, she shined with positivity at every moment. When everyone else panicked at Monokuma's motive, she managed to cheer me up. Kyoka, she left our side too early. What would have she thought at her final moment? Maybe nothing. She went bang, right? Just hit in the head with a hammer. Why did she have to die? The cruel killer who murdered Kyoka. That cold-blooded, heartless killer is hiding among us. And thus, Act 1 at Hopesuke Academy begins. A life or death trial. Yeah, so this guy also, whoever translated this also translated that phraseology, life or death, just like Google Translate did. When they translated it from Korean, commercially from Japanese to English, they turned it into deadly instead of life or death. I don't know why. But it seems like if you telephone it from Japanese to Korean and then from Korean to English, you get life or death. So I'm wondering where they changed it, whether or not it's a loose translation from Japanese to English, a loose translation from English to Korean, kind of a telephone-like translation from, not English to Korean, what do I mean? Japanese to Korean, sorry. Loose translation from Japanese to Korean. A telephone-like situation where whatever word they used in Korean is the best choice for whatever they had in Japanese, but then the best choice in English for that Korean word was life or death. So you get that 2 layers thing. Or whatever, but I'm guessing it's probably a loose translation from Japanese to English, because the English translators of Danganronpa commercially were kind of loose, right? They turned Super High School level into Ultimate, which isn't even close. So I can imagine them taking life or death into changing life or death into deadly, similarly. But anyway. Life or death trial, a life or death deception, a life or death betrayal, a life or death mystery, a life or death lie, a life or death truth, a life or death class trial. So there we do have them. Okay. Yeah, all these Korean fan games are life or... They tend to translate to life or death in English. Anyway. Yeah, I'll throw it at a 13. Begin. Here we go. Hopefully this doesn't crash. Let us begin with a basic explanation of the class trial. So, your votes will determine the results. If you can figure out the culprit, only they will receive punishment. But if you pick the wrong one, then I'll punish everyone besides the blackened, and the one that deceived everyone else will graduate. One of us is the killer? Yes, you knew that. What? I guess we gotta wrap this up. The culprit who murdered Kyoka. Of course! No way, I have to be in the same place as a real murderer. I can't do that. I know it's hard, but it's a must. We need to uncover the truth behind this case. And ultimately reveal the culprit's identity. Wait, hold on. What's that? That picture of Kyoka. Wouldn't it be awful if she got left out just because she died? Friendship penetrates even death's barrier. Hey, let me ask you something just in case. It's crucial that we know this for the trial. This is really important, so prepare to answer, dumbass. I don't have voice to do with this. Can there be accomplices? Can there be accomplices in this case? That will determine the entire course of our discussion. Really important? Why, sure. I can tell you that. Now, accomplices in murder may exist. However, no matter how many accomplices there are, only the one who committed the murder graduates. Except in the third case of Trigger Happy Havoc, where it's actually the person behind all of it, but then they actually did a murder personally themselves at some point, so it doesn't really matter. I see. There would be no merit for an accomplice. Kakero, he really looks like a different person. That'll do for the preamble. Let's get started then. First up is the case summary. Now let's the debate begin. Wait, he's choosing topics? The class trial. When Wanakuma first mentioned it in the gym, I thought none of us would commit murder. Then a class trial would never happen. That's why I didn't think too deep about this. But it really started. The trial to find Kyoka's killer. If we fail to reveal the culprit in this trial, we'll be purple-faced. No, I can't let that happen. I have to do this, not only for me, but for everyone else too. To find out what really happened, and to reach the ultimate truth. Or is it the super high school level truth? I must do this with all my might. A non-stop debate is about to begin. Would you like to hear more? Yes, because I don't know what the control scheme is of this. Sorry. In a non-stop debate, you need to be on the lookout for contradictions in your fellow students' statements to refute them with a truth bullet. You can fire a truth bullet by moving the red crosshair over text marked in yellow and pressing confirm. So I presume that's with arrow keys, right? Just like blowback. A set of truth bullets takes... because you can't do mouse in RPG Maker, it seems. A set of truth bullets taken from the list you obtained during the investigation will be given for each discussion topic. You must select the correct truth bullet to refute the contradiction. Press shift to change the selected truth bullet. Okay, just like blowback. Needless to say, but firing a truth bullet at the wrong place will deplete your influence gauge. Complete depletion of the influence gauge will result in a game over, so please be careful. You may skip through lines by pressing the arrow on the bottom right. Oh. I don't know what that means, but okay. Wow, the precipitation really picked up out there. Okay, Monokuma file is all we've got. Cool. Okay, so I'm about to get hurricaned. Let's start with the basics. Kyoki Maki was the victim, that is correct. Oh, do I have to, like, hit enter to go... Oh, it doesn't auto-scroll. Wait. She was discovered in the girl's restroom hanged by her neck. Okay. But who could have done such a terrible thing? Look, you see, I still can't quite believe that a real murder happened here. I mean, this is ridiculous. Took a hang herself and died by choking? I missed. Oh, I guess not. Yeah, the precipitation outside here, this is Sunday, this is the Sunday after the previous part in the afternoon, just kicked up by a factor of about 7. Okay. Well, here we go. My drains are gonna clog, but, gee whiz. So if there's a lot of, like, white noise in the background of this, my voice audio, that's what's going on. What's wrong, Teruya? Kyoko didn't choke to death. She didn't choke to death. And if my power goes out, this video gets lost. And no one will know I said that. Then how'd you explain the rope around her neck? I don't have a battery for this desktop. The Monokuma file. Did you read it? It clearly states Kyoko's cause of death. Look, it says here, the victim is Kyoko Maki. The estimated time of death is around 6 a.m. The body was discovered hanging in the girls' restroom of the student dormitory. The cause of death is a contusion to the occiput. There seems to have been excessive blood loss from the wound. See, according to the file, Kyoko did die due to choking. Her real cause of death is the contusion to her occiput, the back of her head. Yeah, but can we really trust that thing? I do know if I can really trust something from that jerk Monokuma.
What? Are you questioning my credibility? Oh, kids these days, they just love to judge a file by its cover. Listen, I do not tell any lies regarding the trial.
Well, not exactly 100% true, but you do have a strong resistance to doing so, has been proven.
I believe in a fair trial more than anyone else.
Don't worry, Mr. Otori. I can back up the credibility of the information. Almost everything in the Monokuma file is true. I'll guarantee you as a physician. So if Kyoko died from a contusion to her occiput, someone must have hit her head from the back, right? Okay, she didn't kill herself, and another person killed her. Then I guess that this really is murder. Well, duh. Don't reckon that it's suicide just because you're too lazy to go through the trial. Our lives are at stake here. Just saying things. Let us not waste our energy in pointless insults. It's almost stated in the Monokuma file, but to add to my personal commentary, Kyoko's injury was very severe. The strike went through her skull and made a large depression in her head. Inferring from this, she probably died an instant death. What a devastating incident. This should not have happened. We can put those commentaries aside and talk about what actually matters. If the injury was that severe, a hard object must have been used to strike her head.
The murder weapon! You mean?
I expected someone would bring that up around this time. Now, won't us all talk about the weapon used to deliver the fatal blow to Kyoko?
If Kyoko didn't kill herself, a blunt object other than the rope would have been used as a weapon. Let's delve into that some more. The murder weapon that struck Kyoko's head. We need to find out what it was. Could you give me more truth bullets eventually? Sure. I don't know if I read this. That should be the weapon, correct? Nothing wrong yet. A blunt one, sir. Like a bat or stick. Yes, I mean, it is long. It is like a bat or stick. It is not, but it is long and like a bat or stick. Correct description. Oh, wait, I have to refute one of those? Okay. While the wound itself is very large, the size of the weapon wouldn't have mattered that much, and I think that object I found for the dump is most likely. Okay, so I guess I have to refute I have to refute the whole bat or stick thing for some reason. I mean, that should be the weapon, is like... Okay. I mean, it is like a bat or stick. I don't know why that's contradictory, necessarily. Ayame, that can't be right. In fact, I discovered this from the dormitory's garbage dump. Oh, and the precipitation let off. Okay. Is that... It's a hammer, a small one you can easily hold with one hand. It looked pretty big to me. Is that what the culprit used to attack Kyoka? It apparently has blood on it, so it must be the weapon. The fact that it was found at the garbage dump indicates that the culprit attempted to get rid of it. How did you even find that at the dump? But can that tiny hammer really kill a person? Want to try if you're curious? No thanks, I'm fine. Regardless of the size, the hammer is made of metal. With enough force at the right angle, killing a person in a single blow is not entirely impossible.
To sum it up, the culprit murdered Kyoka at once with a hammer strike from the back, then hanged her.
But isn't it strange? If the killer just wanted to murder Kyoka, then why did they hang the body? Even if it was to cover up their real cause of death, the bruise and the bloodstains are still there. You can see that it's a murder right away. You can? I thought it was a suicide before Yuki told us. Well, you're an idiot. That's because you're a helpless idiot. Finally, Ray speaks truth. Miss Maki's body didn't look typical of people who hang themselves in the first place. Too unnatural if it was meant to be framed as a suicide. Too unnatural? Yeah, they keep playing this, thing about, maybe someone was messing with it, because the culprit would have done a better job intentionally of framing it up like a hanging. But, the person who would mess with it is Ray, and Ray would need to do weird hijinks involving kicking a rubber ball and embedding a hook in a rubber ball and doing weird stuff that there's evidence left behind that the culprit did to do the hanging, which seemed to indicate that they may have done it somehow from outside the bathroom, especially considering what Mikako said. She said that this would look, the way the hook was hanged on the ceiling rod wasn't like how it would be if it was done from the inside, as she said. But yeah, it did look slightly different from a typical suicide by hanging. It looked unnatural because the rope was too loose, yes. Kyoka wasn't hanging in the air, that's also correct. There was a bruise on the head. But I think the rope was too loose is what, come on. Kanata said in her testimony, so that's the thing I need to repeat, right? Oh! No, this doesn't sound right. Let's focus and try again. Did I lose some health? If the culprit wanted to disguise it as a suicide, the body should have looked different. Let's delve into that a bit more. It's unnatural because she wasn't hanging in the air. Okay. This is harder than blowback on the questions. It's a little bit more, not straightforward. Kanata, do you mean the body looked unnatural because it wasn't hanging in the air despite the rope being tied on her? Ah, yes, that is correct. Don't you think so? I got zero ideas about all this. Idiot. You don't know how people die from hanging? They usually tie a rope in the air, stand on a chair or a similar object, and kick it off as they hang themselves. Because it's hard to... You have to, overcome, that survival instinct that'll happen when you're about to die, so it actually kills you. If you don't have it suspended off the ground, your body will just protect itself. That way, there is nothing to step on, and eventually they are choked by gravity to death. Oh, I get it. If Kyoka committed suicide, her body has to hang down in the air. You know, it's just like the music video for, Inside the Fire. You know, if you want a visual, illustration. But Kyoka's body was down on the floor, even with the rope hung around her neck. This must be the point. It sure is weird. Why did the culprit hang Kyoka's body, then? It's simple. There are two possible explanations. The culprit either had a reason to do it, or was, swear to God, stupid. You're also extremely unhelpful. The culprit is stupid? What do you mean, Would you mean Haru is the culprit? Hey, she said the culprit is stupid, not that a stupid person is the culprit. He didn't deny that he's stupid. Anyway, there's no way the culprit hanged her without thinking. There has to be a reason. What is that reason? That this had to happen? To talk about that, we have to discuss about the culprit first.
There is no need to repeat that. Revealing the identity of the culprit is the ultimate object of this trial, after all. So let us discuss about the culprit like Tsurugi said!
But who is the real killer? I have no idea. Me neither. How could there be a murderer among us? I can't even imagine who. This guy! Hey, didn't we already narrow it down to half, to be honest? Now, and here's where we're gonna get the girls' bathroom thing. What makes you say that? Duh, use your brain. Kyoko's body was found in the girls' bathroom and hanged by a rope. Then should the killer be one of the girls? What? Hey, he has a point. Exactly, for example, Kizuna could be the killer. She did speak up once since the beginning of the trial. Or Miss Clark Circles over there. Huh? One of them's the culprit? That's nonsense. I have no reason to commit murder. Then why are you so quiet? It's hella suspicious. Dark Circles was always like that, but not you. Shut up. I'm just trying to avoid talking with dirty killers. Tomori, please don't call us killers. There is only one culprit. Monokuma said accomplices have no merit. Don't view us like that. Hell no. Kyoko's already dead. It can be anyone next time. I can't die here. Do you know that unnecessary overreaction makes you look even more suspicious? Shut up, Higa. How dare you spit out nonsense. The killer's a girl because the body was in the girls' restroom? It's not like you have rules here. Guy can certainly enter it too. Kizuna, you sound like a different person today. Why are you calling him by last name? Well, I guess her mask slipped. It's impossible for a man to enter the women's restroom. That might have been a possibility in the real world, but this place is a rule that forbids it. Am I right, Monokuma?
Bingo! A man entering the women's restroom is considered a form of indecency and will be punished by a shower of bullets from the machine guns. The same goes for the opposite case. This applies to... Oh, that's kind of un-Monokuma-ish. Monokuma would make it so that it was okay for the girls to go in the boys' restroom, but not vice versa. This applies not only to the restrooms, but also the locker rooms and bathhouse that will be unlocked soon. Because Monokuma is a... I forgot the word for, like, misogynist, but it's like men instead of women. There's a name for it. I thought of Monokuma as like someone who just hates men. Let's bear that in mind.
It's true. Monokuma warned us when we found Kyoko's body and tried to step in. Come on, it's a matter of common sense that guys can never commit murder in the girls' restroom. It wasn't me. Why would I, of all people, commit murder? I'm not a criminal. If anyone is, it's that creepy bitch. If Mitsuhiro is right, that means the culprit is either Akane, Mekaru, Kanata, Ayami, Kizuna, Satsuki, or Mikako. No, I'm not the culprit. Satsuki never ever killed anyone. Yeah, if the killer is one of the girls, who else could it be besides her? Don't you agree, Rei Mekaru? What's she even talking about? Don't pull my leg. Weren't you late when the body was discovered? Everyone was there except for you. If you're not the culprit, why'd you come late? Is that all you have? I told you back then I was late because I was investigating at the main entrance. Nobody believes you. You have no evidence. Well, surely she was a bit suspicious. I'm not trying to jump to conclusions, but you did come late. Mekaru, can you prove what you said? If you need proof of something as simple as this, it would be better if you die here, airhead. Trying to back out? Gotcha. We found the answer. This bitch is the killer. Hold on, I suggest that we think about this some more. Coming late to the scene is sure to draw suspicion, but would it also mean that Makaru is the culprit? How did my health just get recharged? No, that's impossible. I know that Makaru really was at the entrance hall to investigate. There was evidence pointing to her innocence. It was... this guy. Hold on, Makaru is innocent. She really was at the entrance to investigate at that time. How could you be sure? Did you see it yourself? No, but... Kakeru, you know it, right? Makaru's innocence?
You said it, Yuki! Listen up, fellas! Rei Makaru is innocent. I, Kakeru Yamaguchi, am the witness.
Humph. Mr. Yamaguchi, is there something you know about this?
I woke up around 6 a.m. with an urge to go to the restroom. As I was heading there, I encountered Makaru. She said she was going to investigate the school wing, and walked away. The next time I saw her after the murder occurred, which means Makaru is innocent.
Did you get what he's saying? Satsuki sees the logic, but can't understand a thing because of all the shouting. Pwahaha. Basically, he saw Makaru heading toward the school in the morning, which proves Makaru's claim. Wait, but the body discovery announcement was at 8. There are 2 hours in between the time you saw her and the murder. 2 whole hours. How does that prove her innocence? Kizuna, think about the time again. It's true that Makaru didn't show up until after we found the body, but Kyoko's estimated time of death was 6 a.m. In other words, it's impossible for Makaru to have murdered Kyoka since she went to the school wing at 6. Sure, she could have turned back as soon as Kikaru went back to his room, but there wouldn't be enough time for her to hang Kyoka's body or throw away the hammer. This is the reason why I'm saying Makaru is innocent. Okay, we're gonna have to slice her. Wrong. That's not enough to say that she's innocent. Why? We even have a witness, Kakeru. No, there's a hole in your argument. I'm sorry, but I've got to make this rebuttal. That's the only way to make that Four Eyes admit her crime, and in this stupid terrain. Four Eyes means glasses. Yeah, just in case the control scheme is weird here. So one-on-one debate, which person disagrees with you, probably put further argument, and continuously press on you, press confirm, decides the opponent's words. Confirm? Just like in a non-stop debate, you could refute text marked in yellow by pressing shift. You can switch your truth blade with the left and right arrow keys. Use the right truth blade at the right contradiction, as you did in the non-stop debate. Shift key will work at non-yellow text. Won't work on non-yellow text, and pressing confirm will slash arguments in the order they are said. Be careful though, since not all arguments will go down with a single slash. Okay, so this isn't directional like in blowback, where you can do like right, up, down, and right, left. It's just, you just spam the enter key. Okay. Your influence gauge will take damage if you refute the wrong argument. Your focus gauge will take damage if you fail to completely strike down a piece of white text. Just a little warning, if you have 0 focus and fail to strike down the white text, your influence gauge will take damage instead. So this is kind of a weird alternate control scheme for this, but okay. Clean body. Okay then, I guess that's the only one I have. Murder someone right in front of that person. How could kill the person remotely? Kill her remotely? How? Kyoko was murdered by a hammer. How is it possible for her to kill Kyoko with a hammer when she was talking with Kakeru? It's more than possible. For example, she could have been tied with the rope in advance. Huh. That's odd. Setting up a trap to kill, then activating it from a remote place. Would that be possible? Well, even if it were possible, looking at Kyoko's body told me that wasn't the case. The murder had to be close to her. I just had to tell Kizuna why. Okay, so I presume this is pretty simple. It's the remotely one. Oh. Yes. Kizuna, it's impossible to kill Kyoko. It's impossible to kill Kyoko remotely. How come? I told you. Well, technically it's possible, but it's not the answer for this case. It's because her body was too clean. The body was too clean? Remember how Kyoko's body looked like. But why would they clean it, though? They're gonna do this thing where it's like, they use the cleanliness as evidence, but then, like, there's no motivation to clean the body. Kyoko's head did have a large bruise and it was all sticky with blood. But that was it. The blood under her hair didn't even flow very far. Her clothes were clean, too. Isn't it strange? A bruise that's severe enough to create a dent in her head, and not a single drop of blood got on her clothes. There's only one reason for this. The killer wiped off the blood at the time of Kyoko had died. Yes, I agree with Yuki. I was wondering the same thing while I examined the body. But can you stop bleeding from a wound that big just by wiping it a few times? My nosebleeds never stopped that easily when I tried to wipe them off. It doesn't take long for blood to coagulate in room temperature. A nosebleed is from an injury inside the nose, but Miss Maki's bruise was directly exposed to the air. About 5 minutes of pressure would have been enough to stop her bleeding. And Miss Maki likely died an instant death, so the actual amount of bleeding might not have been much due to lack of circulation. Huh? But if the culprit wiped it off as soon as Kyoko died, or compressed it, where the culprit killed Kyoko remotely from a distance like Kizuna suggested, Kyoko's body would have been covered with blood by the time they go to wipe it off. Also, they'd have to risk the blood getting on her clothes when there is no way to wash it off. Okay, I guess it's the culprit's clothes. What do you think, Kizuna? Anything left for you to say? Why are you siding with Four Eyes? I wasn't really siding with Makaru. True. Why would Useless stand up for me in the first place? I don't really care. I don't care what you think of me, but don't use it to justify framing someone else in a trial. If we choose the wrong person based off your petty emotions, everyone here is going to die. Did you still not understand the rule of this place? Fine, do whatever you want.
Yes! Then is Makaru fully proven innocent?
Man, that came out terrible.
Is everyone clear on that?
Yeah. Why are we suddenly talking about Makaru, though? If I remember correctly, she faced our suspicion after Mitsuhiro said the killer was among the girls. Makaru, we apologize for suspecting you. Shrug it off. No matter how much you contempt and disdain me, I don't give a damn. Makaru, she has the guts. Then, we can safely assume that Makaru and Kakeru have an alibi. Well, we already crossed out Kakeru. Didn't you say the killer is a girl? Hold on, even if Four Eyes is innocent, I'm not gonna take that. The killer cannot be a girl. But there's no other possibility. The killer had to be able to enter the girls' restroom. Who else other than the girls can enter the girls' restroom? And why are you being so fussy if you're not the culprit? You feel guilty or something? I told you I'm not the killer. I mean, it's just not fair. You can't assume me as the killer just because I'm a girl. And you don't have any solid reasoning. Come on, if the rule that the boys cannot enter the girls' restroom is not an acceptable reason, then what is? The culprit is a girl. But is it really like that? This isn't good. We can't reach an agreement if we keep fighting. Ultimate Leader, we are waiting for you to come up with a plan. There is no need. In fact, I'd highly encourage this sort of debate. Huh? I see the current situation as a perfect chance for all of us to understand the culprit's strategy. What do you mean? Everyone's just fighting each other right now. Think about why you were led to believe that the culprit is a woman. If you can figure that out, you'll be able to reach the answer from there on. Why did we come to think that the culprit is a girl? The body was in the girl's restroom for sure. Is the culprit a girl, just like Mitch said? I think we're still missing something critical. I have to point that out. Okay, laundry room. It's probably gonna be the laundry room. Okay, the body was... Yes, that's true. It was discovered inside the women's restroom. Okay. While the body was found in the women's restroom, Kyoka's murder and hanging occurred separately from one another. That's correct. The murder still happened in the girls' restroom, right? But I can't refute it, though. Let me just try it. I couldn't read it. The font was too, like, pixelated. I refuted something, though. No, Haru, that's not true. Not true? What's not true? We've been missing something critical. I'll cut to the chase. The culprit could certainly be a guy, too. Huh, what are you talking about? Guys couldn't go in the girls' restroom. How do you commit a murder at a place you can't even enter? That doesn't matter. All of this time, we thought the murder occurred in the girls' restroom, since that's where the body was found. But where the murder actually happened was a totally different location. Huh, what you mean? The body was in the girls' restroom. Oh, I get it. Looks like everyone finally got it. That reminds me, the Monokuma file only stated where the body was discovered, not the place where the actual murder occurred. A critical point indeed. We weren't paying attention to the real deal while being distracted by superficial things. Huh. You should have seen it at your first glance. Wait, hold on. If Kyoka wasn't murdered in the girls' restroom, if the culprit killed her in another place, then moved the body to the restroom, those could all be done by someone who's not a girl.
Come to think of it, Kyoka's body was quite close to the restroom entrance.
Then, was Kyoka murdered somewhere else? How did you reach that conclusion, Yuki? I bet you had some kind of supporting evidence. Yeah, in fact, I found a puddle of blood in the laundry room. Is that a truth bullet? Why can't we present that in some... Okay, the laundry room? That place sounds so irrelevant. The bloodstain says everything. Kyoka Maki was murdered in the laundry room. The laundry room. I have seen Miss Maki there a few times, but her time of death... Why did she go to the laundry room at 6 a.m. in the morning? Oh, we have something for that, too. Yeah, I know she was an early bird, but I don't think she would get up that early. Real reason Kyoka headed to the laundry room. Didn't I find something that could answer that question? Yes, I did. What was it? I think it's coming to my mind. The clue was... this thingy. This fragment. Manuscript. Everyone, can you look at this for a second? What's that? I found this from Kyoka's body. It looks like a scrap piece of paper from the notepad Monokuma gave us. Kyoko is holding it tight in her hand. Would you like me to read what it says? To the laundry room at 6. Be waiting. And they had to translate that from Korean, by the way. It's all raggedy and torn. Take a closer look. It clearly mentions that place in the parts that we can read. I see the laundry room. Moreover, the words that really matter are still intact despite the missing parts. Well, except who it was. From the parts that are left, I think the full message was, so come to the laundry room at 6. There aren't any cameras there. I'll be waiting. Something like that. That was so sick. Saruki, you completed the note just from its parts. It's my speculation, so I can't assure that it's completely identical to the original sentence. But it should be the same overall. Is it ripped because the culprit tried to pull it out by force? I believe so. Maybe the culprit wasn't able to remove the whole paper from Miss Maki's hand due to rigor mortis. That means Kyoka got that note from someone and went to the laundry room at the designated time. Oh.
That means Kyoka got that note from someone and went to the laundry room at the designated time without knowing what's about to happen.
Shoot. Why would anyone use those kinds of cheap tricks? Huh? Tatsuki's confused on the part that says there aren't any cameras. Perhaps it was intended to make the note look like some sort of secret talk? Nope, that's not what Suzuki meant. Are there really no cameras in the laundry room? There is. Well, what a surprise, you can talk. Between the ventilator and the clothesline. Yes, I saw it too. The culprit just wrote down meaningless nonsense as bait. Kyoka? Just why? I apologize for the untimely interruption, but may I speak for a moment? Kinji, what is it? Kyoko was murdered in the laundry room, although we can now be certain about this statement. Is it not too early to conclude that a man could be the culprit as well? Huh? Well, it is possible for a man to commit murder in the laundry room and carry the body to the restroom. Recall the fact that Kyoko was not merely lying on the restroom floor. She was hanged by a rope attached to the ceiling. Have we forgotten this already? Oh, you're right. The murder could have been done somewhere else, but you'll have to enter the restroom to connect a rope to the ceiling. So the culprit really is a girl then? What, are we back to where we started? Seriously, guys, you want to think the culprit is a girl that bad? No, but Kinji is not wrong. It's impossible to tie a rope to a pipe inside the restroom unless you are inside as well. See, the killer is one of the girls. Wait, it's too early to make that conclusion. Can there be a way to hang the body from the outside? If Kinji is right, the killer cannot be a guy. But if there's a way to refute that logic, I have to come up with that, even if the chances are less than 1%. This isn't a drill. A single mistake can kill all of us. If we put our heads together, we'll be able to find the answer. Anyway. The hook. Kanata's account. Yeah, it's the hook. I love how there's like agrees all of a sudden without a tutorial for them. I guess I have to agree to something. Okay. Let's think closely. There's still a possibility that a guy is the culprit. If the body could be hung without entering the restroom, that would prove the culprit would be a guy too. I presume a guy's supposed to agree with that being a tool. Don't struggle on your own. There's definitely something. Come to think of it, there was another object attached to the rope. Oh, I have to switch it to the hook. There. Hit that. That's it, Ayami. You can use a tool. A tool, but how? I almost forgot the tool that was tied to the rope. It's right here, do you see it?
Looks like a hook to me.
A hook? The rope has something like that. I started to get impressed by the extent of your guys' stupidity. But Useless made a good point this time. You're right, looks like you got it correct. So what about the hook? The culprit must have thrown this hook with the rope attached to connect it to the pipe on the ceiling. That way the rope is all set. Afterwards, they can tie the other end to Kyoka's neck and push her body inside. Wouldn't that be possible to do without actually entering the woman's restroom? Yes, it is. This is our answer. Hold on, how... Look how the rope is tied to the pipe. It had been twined several times around the pipe. Is it possible to do that with that heavy-looking hook on the rope? Boy, he's right. It's fastened by the hook, but the rope went around several times. I know, it's nearly impossible to tie a rope like that when there's a hook attached. Well, you say it's like you said it like it's possible. That's why the culprit used another tool to secure the rope onto the pipe. Another tool? What is this another tool? Seems like Makaru is the one who realized what it is. Well, can you tell us, Makaru? Like hell, I realized. I knew it from the very beginning. And if you're trying to sound me out, quit it. I already said that I have no plans to offer any help. Besides, it looks like Useless over there got hold of it anyway. Why don't you ask him? Me? Yuki, can you tell us the answer? Well, it's... Oh, you didn't? Sorry about that. I guess that question was too hard for your non-functional brain. I won't forgive myself if I don't give an answer after hearing that. In fact, I'm sure that I can. I found that object during the investigation, didn't I? A tool other than the hook was used to secure the rope from the outside. That tool was... this guy.
Hello.
Good, and one more thing. There was a key piece of evidence that can prove this tool's involvement in the crime.
Hello.
I got it. I figured out the other tool used by the culprit. It's the rubber ball. Rubber ball? What's a rubber ball? It's like a bouncy ball. Have you ever played with one when you were young? It's full of some kind of viscous liquid that makes it bounce back up when it hits the floor. Oh, I know. I made some improvements to it and sold it overseas under the name Hyperball. Did I tell you all that it was still selling great?
How is it relevant to the case? You better tell us quick, Yuki.
Okay, I figured out the way the rubber ball was used in the murder just now. After Tsurugi said the culprit used another tool to set the rope in place, I tried to relate the act of winding the rope with the circumstances of the murder. I think we could be certain about the culprit using a hook since we found one on the pipe. But as Mitch pointed out, it's impossible to wind the rope like that with the hook alone. Putting the hook after setting up the rope wasn't a choice either, because there's no way to get the rope around the pipe by itself. Besides, they'd have to step inside to attach the hook. That's why the culprit used a rubber ball. Before using the hook, the culprit tied the rope around the rubber ball. Then they threw it inside the restroom, between the pipe and the ceiling to be more exact. That way the ball would hit the wall and bounce back towards where it started. If you repeat this multiple times, you get the rope around the pipe with the ball returning to the entrance every time. All that's left is to remove the ball and tie a hook and throw it on the pipe. But the culprit probably faced something that wasn't part of their plan here. The rubber ball burst because of the pressure from rebounding off the wall. It spilled its contents all over the wall and the floor, which is still left at the scene. This is how the culprit tied the rope without going into the girl's restroom. The hook and the rubber ball were used to make it look like it was done from the inside. Oh, so that must have been the sticky liquid on the wall. Well said, Yuki. I agree with you. Well, if our ultimate police officer says so, I guess he's right. Unless the ultimate police officer is the one who did it, which is not the case, but... I mean... How would these idiots not know? Or no? Everyone, did you notice something about after getting to this point? Notice what? Think closely. We were talking about the possibility of a man being the culprit. But don't you think it should be the opposite after going through all this? Opposite? My explanation involves the hook and the ball. It was to prove that it's possible for a guy to be the culprit. But if the opposite of that is true, that means the culprit is a man. I mean, if the culprit was... If I were doing something like this, right? I would do something like... It's like, I wouldn't commit a murder. But if I were, hypothetically, I I would do something like put the body in the men's restroom, but do some weird stunt that made it look like I was trying to do something from outside the men's restroom. So that, like, it made it look like I was a woman, right? There's, like, levels of reverse psychology you can play here, but, whatever. They're not gonna go this deep. That's right, we were going in the opposite direction ever since. Opposite direction? What are you talking about? We thought that the culprit was a girl, so we thought of a way to hang Kyoka from the outside the restroom based on the assumption, what if a guy could be the culprit as well? Turns out that wasn't the case. It's very unlikely that the culprit is among the girls. The killer is definitely a man. What? It wasn't me. Hey, how so? Why is it something like that? Think about just what we went through. The culprit undoubtedly used the hook and the rubber ball to connect the rope to the ceiling. Now suppose the culprit was a woman. Would there be a reason for her to use such a complicated measures when she could have simply stepped inside and tied the rope directly? That makes sense. It looks like the culprit had to do it without going inside the restroom. Furthermore, even if the culprit was a woman and had to use the hook or rubber ball for some reason, they would have been able to clean the stain on the wall afterwards. But that would defeat the point. Right, you're framing up the dudes. You're framing up the dudes. You're supposed to leave behind the evidence. Right, as I mentioned before, the culprit probably didn't expect the rubber ball to burst. I'm just talking out my butt, right? I think it's gonna be a guy in the end, just to be clear. But, it is kind of weak, to be clear. To clean the liquid off the wall, they needed to get inside the restroom. But they couldn't, because guys can't enter the girls' restroom. I can't say it was absolute certainty, but it's the most reasonable explanation we can think of. There would be no reason for the culprit to intentionally leave traces in the murder scene. I mean, liquid stain on the wall was a big hint for figuring out how the ball was used by the culprit. Yes, there would have been a reason for them to do that, but I don't think they're going to go there. Aha! That automatically gives us girls an alibi, right? Plus, even better, Yuki, Teruja, Haruhiko, Mitsuhiro, Tsurugi, Kichi, and Kakeru. We know one of them gotta be it. Hold on, what if the culprit was a woman and tried to make us think this all along? Think this way all along. I am Mitsuhiro now. I highly doubt it. The real reason the culprit hanged Kyoka in the first place was to make us think that a woman did it. Oh ho, so it has nothing to do with disguising it with the suicide from the start? That's weak, Tsurugi. Indeed, everything was to lead us to thinking that a woman is the culprit. That's what they want you to think, Tsurugi! In other words, the culprit wanted us to think that way.
So they would become a suspect?
So they wouldn't, that is?
All because the culprit himself was a man? Everything's connected now.
I found it strange to find the rope on Miss Maki's neck being too loose. In retrospect, I see that it was the case because the culprit didn't intend to make it look like a suicide at all. I can't believe it took this long for you to reach that point. What's up with you talking like you already knew all this stuff? Because I already knew? What? I already have everything worked out. Who the culprit is, why they killed, anything you would possibly think of. Eh? What, and you just stood there in silence when you had all the answers? How many times will I have to repeat this? I have absolutely no reason to help you out. Mekaru, this isn't a competition. If you don't share what you know and we end up voting for the wrong person, you're gonna die too. But you won't. Of course, I'll share my knowledge when it gets to that. But even without me, you still have Tsurugi Kinjo over there to help you. And useless, you're getting pretty close to the truth too. I was actually surprised. Perhaps you weren't completely useless after all, monkey. Monkey? Geez, she's a real smug. Well, she's always been like that. We should ignore what she says and keep moving on. Sure, I believe we left off saying the culprit is a man. I wonder who it is. Wow, she must be really excited by the tables turning. Although we now know that the killer is among the men, we still need to specify one person out of the 7. Is there any kind of clue to narrow down the list? Well, if Miss Mekaru was able to work out the culprit's identity, there must be a clue pointing to the killer somewhere.
The problem is, we don't know what that clue is.
Tsurugi, a little help here, like something that can nail the killer. I do have something in mind, but you shouldn't rely on me for everything. Because, you know, you have the pro tag, right? You have to, like, pass the buck to the pro tag for no reason. All of you should figure the case out by yourself. Because, you know, we have to use the truth bullet mechanics and the mini games and stuff. Oh, I gotta answer the phone. Okay, I'm back. I had to answer the phone. It was my dad. I do have something in mind. I might have already read this line, but whatever. I do have something in mind, but you shouldn't rely on me for everything. All of you should figure the case out by yourself and understand the reason behind our final verdict. It's like such a, like, no. It's like the lame twisting they have to go through to make it so that it's the pro tag who has to figure everything out. Just say it. You're the pro tag. You need to figure it out because you're the pro tag. Because there isn't any gameplay mechanics if it's not the person the player is playing as who figures it out. No weird nonsense that doesn't make any sense. Hyoka. Hey, y'all. Any ideas about the culprit? Well, nothing in particular, I suppose. We're almost there. We know that the culprit is one of the guys. Just to remind y'all, it's not me. That reaction is making you look even more suspicious. Just like you from a while ago. What'd you just say? Eek, I'm sorry. Wasn't that out of character, Kizuna? Since most of you seem to be having trouble with this. It's like, oh, is he suddenly turning into like a Kokichi? Why'd the music change? Why'd the music just change? Since most of you seem to be having trouble with this, oh, it's just another set recycled as normal music. Let me suggest going around. How about y'all think of something else first? Such as, don't you want to know why Kyoka died? Why Kyoka had to die? Of course we do. Kyoko was always full of spirit and a nice friend to us. She didn't deserve to die. Right, they're gonna figure out that the person was trying to kill Tsurugi. Right, and Tsurugi's aware of that. But who wanted to kill Tsurugi? Like, how is that specifically narrow anything down, really? To begin with, 2 people are indirectly involved in Kyoka's death. 2 people? Are you implying that there are 2 culprits? No, I'm saying there are 2, that those 2 took part in murder. But they heavily influenced the events leading to Kyoka's death. I'm not saying those 2 took part in murder, but they heavily influenced the events leading up to Kyoka's death. One of them, of course, is me, right? It's Tsurugi. The point is, Kyoka died as a result of someone's mistake, and the culprit's misjudgment that stemmed from it. A mistake and misjudgment? I need the help of a certain someone to explain this. Yoki, could you help me out? Protag, could you use your truth bullets? Use your Danganronpas? Do you remember the conversation we had in the hallway? The one over the nameplates? Oh, you mean that one? Yeah, you told me then that you know who caused the change in the nameplates. I don't have knowledge regarding this matter, so I'd like you to provide us the context. Hello, I've got 0 ideas on what the 2 of you are talking about. Okay, I'll explain it to everyone. Yesterday, while all of us were in shock after Monokuma showed us the motive, there was a minor incident that happened. The people who know about that incident are me, Haru, and Satsuki. And finally, Kyoka. Huh? They don't look like they know it, though. Haru, Satsuki, did you forget what happened before nighttime yesterday? With the nameplates? Oh, that. Oh, you mean the thing with Haru's triple spin? Yeah, would you mind explaining to us what happened back then? I think there's something you didn't know about it. I'll tell you when we get there. Okay. I will present something. Haru's account, right? from the motive. And then I accidentally found out I broke the nameplates. That's correct. You did indeed do so. It was funny to watch. And I was freaking out over damaging school property. Monica showed up and said that it won't punish me since it was an accident and it just left me a new set of nameplates. Haru put the nameplates back where they belong. No, he didn't. Well, yes, he... So Haru put them back in the right place. That's wrong. Bam. You know, Satsuki, there's something wrong with what you just said. Oh, what's wrong? Although Haru did put the nameplates back, he didn't know that he made a mistake while doing so. Yuki, that's... He forgot where the two nameplates originally were, so he put the new ones in the wrong place. What, he forgot about something that was right in front of him seconds ago? He went to the restroom before putting them back, so I think he got confused somewhere in the middle. Okay, I get how much of an idiot Haruhiko is. How is that related to Kyoka's murder? That would be because the two nameplates Haruhiko had to replace belonged to Tsurugi Kinjo and Kyoka Maki. Right, Yuki? Yeah, right. Kyoko's room was next to mine, and Tsurugi's was next to hers. But because Haru thought the other way around, the nameplates on their doors were switched. Mr. Kobashikawa, was it your intent to do so? Anyway, Haru, shouldn't you already know? We talked about the nameplates being switched when we were investigating. Well, I did, but I just wanted to avoid unnecessary suspicion. Avoid suspicion? Don't tell me you're the culprit, Haruhiko. No, I'm not, I swear. This is exactly why I didn't say it. Why would we think you're suspicious? It's just a couple of nameplates. I don't think they're that much related to Kyoko's death anyway. Yes, they are related. Much related, in fact.
Humph! Now, would you care to explain what that means to us?
I said earlier that two people were connected to the murder. One of them is Haruhiko for switching the nameplates. The other person is... me. Huh? Mr. Kinjo, you have an indirect connection with the murder of Mrs. Maki. May I ask you to elaborate on that? It's true. Let's see. Where should I start? How about we all get a grasp of the culprit's intention first? If things went as the culprit originally planned, the person to have a portrait here would have been me. That statement sounds somewhat far-fetched. How come you were to die instead of Kyoka? Do you remember the torn note that Yuki read to us a while ago? I was able to comprehend that the culprit was aiming for after seeing that note. Kyoka got that note from the culprit and headed to the laundry room at the designated time. There, she was assaulted and murdered by the culprit. Everyone's clear on this, right? Then let me ask, how do you think Kyoka got the note? How she got the note? Well, maybe one of us casually handed it over to her. Kyoka wouldn't have known that the person who gave the note would have come after her back then. From whom? Where? How? Did any of you ever see Kyoka getting a note from someone? No, besides, there wasn't any time for that. After we got out of the audio-visual room, Kyoka stayed with me and Satsuki until she went into her room for the night.
Wait, then Kyoka got the note between 10 p.m. last night, and her time of death, which is 6 a.m. this morning?
Right, Kyoka went inside her room as soon as it became nighttime. She couldn't have gotten the note while talking face-to-face with someone. And that leaves us with only one possibility. She got the note while she was inside her room. But you can't go into someone else's room unless she got the key or the owner's permission. Yes, but there is a way to give her the note without opening the door. What? That would be like magic, really? How? A way to slip a note inside the room without opening the door or being seen by the owner. That should be pretty simple, something that any clever kid could think of. Let's think about it. If I stay calm and keep brainstorming, it will come to mind. Really? Okay, yeah, sorry. Under? Is that what the Hangman's Gambit answer is going to be? Okay, absolutely. What are the mechanics of this? Hangman's Gambit, you must put together pieces of evidence that flashes by your mind. The bottom of the screen will show parts of your target word or phrase with spaces in between. Find which letters would go into the blank space and shoot them to place them in their position. Letters will move around randomly across the screen. If there are multiple blank spaces, you must fill in the leftmost space first. Your focus gauge will take damage if you fill in the wrong letter. If your focus gauge is fully depleted, then your influence gauge will take damage instead. Once you choose the correct letter for every blank space, the word will be complete, and so will the minigame. I don't really get it, but here we go. P. The gap. Oh, that's so stupid. Okay, gap. Come on.
これだよ
Really? That's worse than schizo. Gap. Just the. Why are we in a Hangman's Gambit for that? That's it. The gap! Even when the door is fully closed, there is a gap between the bottom of the door and whatever. So after nighttime, the culprit left a note inside Miss Maki's room through that gap. Right. There would be no one out in the hallway after nighttime, and Kyoko would still be awake. Adding a message like "Don't exit your room" to keep Monokuma from noticing would have easily dealt with the chance of Kyoko seeing the note coming in and opening the door. That way the sender won't have to reveal himself while still getting the message across. This inequality of information between the culprit and Kyoka made her more vulnerable to deception. You know, it was pretty bold of him to do that. What if Kyoka didn't show up or brought other people with her? The note probably requested her to come alone to prevent such occurrences. Likely coupled with a reason she won't be able to ignore. From the fact it mentioned the absence of cameras, it must have been something Monokuma shouldn't know about. A way out, for instance. Would any of you refuse to go if someone offers to tell you a way to escape? Well, I'd go, yes. True, I would have gone as well. Okay, the culprit sneaked the note into her room. I get that, but how exactly is it you and Haru's fault? Think closely. Most people didn't know about Haruhiko switching the nameplates until it was said in the trial, or noticed it after the murder occurred. Which means at the time of the murder, the culprit was unaware of the fact either. Oh. I see. For that reason, you considered yourself and Haruhiko to be at fault. For those of you who haven't got it yet, we are saying that the culprit killed Kyoka because of a confusion. Confusion?
What? So it ties back to what Tsurugi said earlier.
Right, I think I know it now. The indirect influence Haru had over Kyoko's death. Haru switched the nameplates by mistake, and the culprit slipped a note inside the room without knowing they were switched. Then the culprit intended target was... Well, I think he said so.
これだよ
That's right, the culprit never intended to murder Kyoka. The real person he wanted to kill was Tsurugi. That makes sense. The killer saw Tsurugi's nameplate on the door and left a note there, but the room was actually Kyoka's. Well, but really, when he put Tsurugi's body in the girl's restroom, though, how would that part of the plan work? Was that something he came up with on a whim right after doing the murder? Because, like, that would have worked well with Tsurugi, because they would have immediately figured out, oh, since Tsurugi was a dead body, I guess they would, like, I guess it would have worked, because they would have been like, well, only a girl would have been able to put the body in there still. I don't know. Does that mean Tsurugi would have died if Haruhiko didn't switch the nameplates? Yes, that's why I said Haruhiko and I indirectly caused Kyoka's death. Kyoka? It's all because I was an idiot? It's all because I was dumb enough to mix up those stupid nameplates? Yeah, but Tsurugi would have been dead instead. Calm down, Haruhiko, it's not your fault. You didn't kill anybody. Even if you put the nameplates correctly, Tsurugi would have been in danger. Tsurugi, I'm a policeman. It's my duty to ensure everyone's safety. Yet I was careless enough to let Kyoka die. I should have died rather than failing in my duty like this. Please don't say that. Every person's life must be treated with extreme regard. That is why I cannot forgive the culprit. Not that murderers ever deserve forgiveness, but him killing one of our close friends was absolutely unforgivable. Yeah, I feel the same too, but how am I supposed to take that one of us as that cruel, cold-blooded killer? So? What do you mean by so? Can't you think now's the time to say it? You know the identity of the culprit. The culprit? Didn't you solve everything you need to? The fact that the culprit is a man, the way he hanged the body without entering the restroom, and why he called Kyoka Maki and killed her. How and why? Isn't the culprit fairly obvious at this point? Well, while we did figure out most of the major details, I don't believe we ever brought up that matter before. Geez, you guys still don't know? How long are you going to make me wait here? I think my legs are starting to hurt. How about you say it yourself if you know so much? Why should I? There's people like Tsurugi Kinjo out there anyway. Tsurugi? Do you know who the culprit is? Yes, I do. Everybody knew but the protag, and they all were just like, but the protag has to say it. Way too many point men. Actually, I already knew who it was well before the trial started. Everyone knew! Woohoo! That's our ultimate police! But what I thought back then was more like an educated guess. Now that I went through these discussions in the trial, I am confident with what I got. Man, that's epic. How'd you know? I still don't have a clue. I'll try to make it easy for everyone to understand. So let's go back to when we were talking about the hook and the rubber ball. You all know how the culprit used them, right?
Of course! The culprit tied a rope to the rubber ball and sent it around the pipe a few times. Then threw a hook on to secure the rope. All was to make it seem like it was done from the inside.
The rubber ball was the decisive factor in my deduction of the culprit. Do you remember Yuki explaining earlier that the rubber ball burst because it couldn't overcome the pressure? It's probably due to the accumulated damage from the repeated collisions with the wall. And here's the question, how much pressure do you think is needed to pop a rubber ball? Well, it will depend on which kind you're talking about, but probably a lot. Yep, I'll tell you something that pops too easily will be worthless as a bouncy ball. Right, normal levels of pressure can't leave a single scratch on it, much less make it burst. But the rubber ball still burst, just by bouncing a few times off the wall. That's kinda strange. Was the rubber ball old?
When I saw the rubber ball, it was still glossy and shining all over despite its condition. I dare say it was brand new.
I'm not done yet. Though I didn't place emphasis on this earlier, think about it. Would it be easy to make a ball go over the pipe through the little space between it and the ceiling, bounce off the wall, and roll back towards the entrance? Especially when the culprit couldn't afford to fail even once because he was a man? I believe it would be a challenge. I don't possess the skills for it in the first place, but even if I did, I won't be able to do it because of the pressure. Fully agreed. But the culprit chose to take that challenge and succeeded nonetheless. That wasn't just a matter of guts, he had the confidence and ability to assure his success. In short, the culprit has the ability to throw a ball exactly where he wants to. It's more than the accuracy. Not only did the culprit have precise control over where to land the ball, but also the strength to burst it open. But I don't think anyone out of the guys looks like they have that much strength and accuracy. Judging by his muscles, maybe Kakeru does?
What? With my daily muscle training, it would be certainly possible for me to burst a rubber ball with my strength. However, just to be clear, I cannot be the culprit. I can't even score a goal right below the basket. Ah.
Then how did the killer pull off those tricks? Was he secretly the ultimate baseball player? Are we secretly playing Trigger Happy Havoc? No, I think you guys are missing something. I said the culprit made the rubber ball go over the pipe, not through it. How can you make the ball go over the pipe without throwing it? Wait, I think there is a way. How do you even do that? Superpowers? No, you kick it with your foot. Oh, right, that's a thing. Rubber balls are small enough to hold with one hand, so I was naturally thinking that the culprit threw it. Huh? Hold on a sec, kicking with your foot. I knew I had the answer when I reached that point. It seems like some of you got there too. If what I'm thinking is right, the culprit is... But why? Why did he? God, I'm still not getting it. Who was it? Can somebody just tell me the answer? Yuki, you know who it is, right? Huh? Looking at your facial expression, I got the feeling you finally reached the truth. You helped me out a lot with the hook and the nameplate, so how about you say it for us? The mastermind behind all of this. No, just this murder, not the whole mastermind. That's someone else. Kyoko's murderer. Yuki? Tsurugi's right, I know the culprit. I really did figure it out. There's only one person who could have done everything we talked about before. I want to convince myself that I'm wrong, but this is something I have to do. I must do this! That facial expression, it's attractive in this 2D way, but also... The person who came up with this plan of murdering Kyoka. Mitch! It was you, right? Mitchell Hooper. What? I mean... I guess you could say it's a midpoint, but... No, just keep going. Why is it, like, it's kind of late. How is it, like, more, like, just as much more trial after that? We finished using all the evidence. Did you just say, I'm the culprit? What? Mitsuhiro? Hey, hold on. How does that make me the culprit? None of the guys had the ability to throw a rubber ball exactly where it was targeted with enough power to burst it. But if we're talking about kicking a ball with that much strength and accuracy, wouldn't be impossible for you, right? Especially when you're the super high school level soccer player. Erg. Mitsuhiro's talent was said to be almost on par with that of many professional soccer players. It makes sense for an expert like him to handle a much smaller and lighter ball with such ease. No, wrong, and wrong. Keep quiet if you're not the expert. Soccer balls and rubber balls are different. And I can't do all that even with a soccer ball. Mitch, but you did that thing with Fuji's TVs, the Masters Challenge. You were the special guest for the game, where you had to dribble all kinds of balls and land it on the target. Didn't you have no problems with the rubber ball there? You even did it with a frickin' pea. What? Oh, I saw that episode in the hospital. He easily scored a goal with a soccer ball, then did the same with a ping pong ball, shuttlecocks, and one of those large exercise balls, I believe. And you're saying you can't kick rubber balls? Try a better joke. That was all fake. It was a scripted. How would that even be possible in real life? Do you think I'm a god or something? Whoa, big scandal alert. Mitch, are you really the culprit? Did you kill Kyoka? Yeah, plus, wasn't he the one who said the killer would be among the girls? No, this is a trap. Yeah, I know Yuki's the culprit. He's trying to accuse me with no evidence whatsoever. What evidence do you have that Yuki is the culprit, sir? Mitch, it's over. Please just say it. I don't want to do this any longer. Say what? I didn't kill anyone. Why does it have to be me? Do you have proof? Do you have any kind of evidence that I killed? Mitsuhiro, I doubt you would overact like this if you aren't the culprit. And you seem able enough to perform that trick using the rubber ball that Yuki mentioned. That was... This is ridiculous. That's pure speculation. Show me the proof. Maybe there is no proof. You just have to pick the best guess. You have to pick the best guess of who's the culprit. It seems really messed up right now. But it's true that my argument doesn't have a solid backup. I thought of it by process of elimination, not real evidence. Still, it should be somewhere. That one piece of evidence that can nail him down as the killer. I need to point that out, or else he won't get anywhere. Bloodstain near body. Tenuya's account. Show me the evidence. We haven't used bloodstain near body, but can easily prove myself not guilty, you know. I put the note into Kyoka's. Is there evidence I put the note? I got those tools from the antique store. And it said I hang Kyoka. So, I think something Mitch just said doesn't fit with the current knowledge of the case. I don't remember us talking about where the tools came from. Then how could he say something like that? Okay, I see what I need to do now. This is like one of those, like, Mondo Trap things where they say extra things. Wait, Mitch, something's off with your statement. What's off? I don't see anything wrong with it. I know we talked about the culprit using the hook and the rubber ball earlier, but we didn't mention where they got it from. How did you know those tools were from the antique store? Why? Where else would you have got them from? It's kind of a lame argument, really. It's like, yeah, where else would they come from? Because that's where most of the tools are? Yeah, I just thought the antique store was a good place for them to get it from. Personal opinion.
That makes zero sense. You normally find hooks and rubber balls in the storage, not the antique store.
Yeah, and doesn't the gym have loads of balls too? You see, you never know. Both the storage and the antique store might have those. That's why I mentioned the antique store. It looked like the place has practically everything. Mitch, we know. One of us has been keeping track of every single item in the storage and antique store. Am I right, Teruya? Yes, Yuki. Is this why you asked me about this? Trust me, the antique store definitely had hooks and rubber balls. I know because I spend most of my time hanging out there. And I'm pretty sure there weren't any hooks or rubber balls in the storage. The ones used in the murder are from the antique store. The way those items are arranged changed after the murder. Whoa, Teruya, you memorized all of that? Wow, what a freak. Shut up, it's just a coincidence, and you still didn't show me proof. Show me evidence, tangible evidence, not your stupid guesses. I'm not buying it, you're doing this to the wrong person. Jeez, can't you be a man and just say you did it? Hey, Mitsuhiro. Will you admit it if we show you evidence? That you're the culprit? God, I'm not the culprit. If there is no evidence, you can't say I did it. Give me the proof, proof! If he insists, we probably should show him. Yuki, show him the proof you have. Huh? I have the proof? Be patient and think. You have the proof. You even showed it to us a while ago. I showed the proof to everyone? Is he talking about... I see. I don't think that it's... I didn't think about it back then, but that can certainly nail Mitch now. I gotta show him what it is. The Terminate Talk Shooting. Oh, is that what we're calling it now? Is about to begin. Would you like to hear more? Yes. In the Terminate Talk Shooting, You must overturn your opponent's baseless arguments by shooting them down and ultimately come up with the conclusive evidence that can silence your opponent. When your opponent's speech bubble appears, you can press confirm to destroy it. If not destroyed, a speech bubble will eventually disappear and inflict some damage to you. Every speech bubble has a certain amount of health presented by the number of objects at its top. If you're out of ammunition, you need to replenish it before shooting again. Press shift to reload. Your opponent will take damage every time a speech bubble gets destroyed. If they're out of health, you'll be given a chance to deliver the final blow by combining words into decisive evidence. But beware, if your health reaches 0, your influence gauge will take damage and you will start over. You must start over. I don't get how... Is it not a rhythm game? Usually it's a rhythm game. No, it's just a shooting game. Come on, man. Give me some stuff to shoot. This is trivial. This hand posture is kind of awkward. This is an arrow key game with the enter key. Well, this game is trivial. Monochrome... What? The notepads Monokuma gave us.
これが真実だ。
I was gonna say Monokuma gave us notepads. That would have made a sentence, but it wouldn't have been evidence, would it? 100% perfect, 30 points. I missed 5 points because some focus slack or something. If you want it, I'll show you. Tangible evidence that can prove you guilty. Which obviously doesn't exist, you moron. It does exist. Remember when I showed you the note to explain how the culprit called Kyoko to the laundry room? The paper used by the note was from the notepad given to us by Monokuma, which means we can see if that note was from your notepad by checking if there was any torn pages in there. And this is the stupid thing about this. It's like, yeah, but like you're in the trial. How do you just teleport this stuff into the courtroom? What? Well, Mitsuhiro, here's the evidence you've been asking for. Hey, you, this evidence? Are you kidding me? We got those like a week ago. Anyone could have torn out a page and who knows what. Also, how would you be able to show? It's in his room. Anyone could have used it? Then we can try matching Yuki's note with the torn section in your notepad. That way, we'll be clear on whether it came from your notepad or not. Well, but... Hey, don't you think the culprit could have used someone else's notepad? How can you be so sure that it was from mine? No way, idiot. The notepads were in the drawer in our rooms. How are you going to get one without the owner's permission? And if the owner somehow gave permission, even better. That would automatically mean the person who asked for permission is the culprit. Wait, that's... Mitch just admitted, I don't want us to. That's like... But you say, no, you could just say, my notepad's completely is intact. How are you going to show it was used? You're in the trial room. It's so stupid. I don't want us to keep fighting each other like this. It's a thing, though, it happens in like, Danganronpa a lot, where, like, they'll be, like, they'll show stuff in the courtroom, it's just, like, maybe it's security camera footage or something. Mastermind somehow summons it. It's over, then. Over? Who said it's over? Nothing's over. This is a lie. This is all a big lie. How dare you accuse a superstar like me of murder? Liar, liar, liar. Alright, if you say so. I'll go over the case from beginning to end, then you'll accept it. That you're the only possible culprit, Mitch. The closing argument is not to begin. Would you like to hear more? No, actually, I'm going to guess on the controls of this one. Okay. So we have drop the notepads, confusion about the notepads, and he puts them up, right? Okay. Culprit sees notepad, goes up there. Okay, that's complete. Oh, this one's complete. I don't know why I'm messing around. We're just looking at it. Enjoying the view. It all started last night. While we were all in shock by Monokuma's motive, Kyoka, Haru, and Satsuki decided to hang out together to distract themselves from the stress. They all ran around in the hallway until Haru accidentally broke two of the nameplates on the wall. The two nameplates belonged to Kyoka and Tsurugi. Haru was panicking over breaking school property when Monokuma showed up to give him a warning. He didn't punish Haru since it was an accident, instead ordered him to replicate the broken nameplates with new ones. Or, not replicate, replace. There we go. And here's where Haru made a crucial mistake. After a trip to the restroom, he got confused about where the two nameplates originally were. He finally chose to go with his gut instinct, which unfortunately turned out to be wrong. This is when Kyoka and Tsurugi's nameplates were switched around. Haru went to his room right after putting the nameplates back, and the nighttime hallway was left empty. At this very moment, someone had decided against going to sleep and was out in the hallway, secretly heading somewhere. The place they were headed was Tsurugi's room. For some reason, they had chosen Tsurugi to be their target of murder. But there was something they were unaware of. Right before they came, the nameplates outside Tsurugi and Kyoka's rooms just happened conveniently by circumstance to be switched. Very contrivedly. So the culprit had actually gone to Kyoka's room. You see, the chances that Tsurugi was one of the two that are switched would be... There's 15 students, right? So 15 times 14. See here. Okay, after something like 1 minus 15 times 14 or 15 factorial, something of that nature. I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly off the top of my head. But anyway, and then he had to choose that person in particular, which is another 1 out of 15. Of course, being one that was switched would be a 2 out of 15. whatever. But then it's like, they're not. There's no point in doing stupid math, so I won't do it. Anyway, unaware of the error, the culprit made their first move. They put a note through the gap below the door. It asked to come to the laundry room at 6 a.m. and contained a lot of false information to make things easier for the culprit. Not everyone would be asleep right after nighttime, and it would be easy to spot a note coming into the door. That's what the culprit was going for. The next day, as the time approached 6 o'clock, Kyoka, after reading the note, came to the laundry room as she has been instructed. The culprit was hiding in the corner of the room, looking for an opportunity to strike. Since they were expecting to see Tsurugi, Kyoko's sudden appearance would have been a surprise for them. Kyoka continued forward, oblivious to her fate. The culprit was probably confused at first, then either noticed that they somehow went to the wrong room, or found Kyoko holding the note. Right, she was holding the note. Because, like, if it's the wrong person, you really wouldn't want to do the kill, because they could just be there by accident, and then you would kill them, and then immediately after you did that, Tsurugi would walk in. So you'd have to see her holding the note. They likely had a plan in mind, and changing the target meant they had to risk ruining everything. But there was also a potential of being found out and facing the aftermath if they let her go. At last, the culprit decided to change their target. They already had the weapon ready, and it looked like they would be discovered anyway. Meanwhile, Kyoko was wondering why no one was in the room. Still unaware of the presence of the culprit, she was left vulnerable to their attack. And fell victim to it. After the murder, the culprit wiped up the blood from the body to conceal any evidence of murder. Because it was done almost immediately afterward, Kyoko's clothes didn't get any blood on them. However, they weren't able to take care of the large bloodstain on the floor, maybe because they were in a hurry, or they just failed to see it. That bloodstain played a large role in revealing Kyoko's murder in the laundry room. I think the culprit forgot about the bloodstain while they were busy removing Kyoko's body. They must have gotten in a panic since they killed someone that wasn't part of their plan. The culprit first carried the body over to the girls' restroom. Their purpose was to take advantage of the fact that students aren't allowed to enter the restroom of the opposite sex. That's when the culprit found the pipe on the ceiling of the restroom. The culprit decided to make use of it and went to the antique store to get the needed supplies. It was less than an hour before the wake-up announcement, so they were probably in a rush. The tools they chose were a rope, a hook, and a rubber ball. The culprit first tied the rope around the rubber ball, then used a certain way to hide their involvement. Their idea was this. That tie, though. Tie the rope on the pipe without entering the girls' restroom using the rubber ball. Since the culprit was a man, they were unable to enter the girls' restroom. Monaco had previously announced that anyone who sets foot in the restroom of the opposite sex will be shot by the machine guns. But thanks to the fact that the restroom entrance was open with a wall straight across, the culprit was able to tie the rope to the pipe using the elasticity of the rubber ball. It was a risky move because as the culprit wasn't able to step inside to correct any mistakes, and making the ball bounce right through that small gap seemed nearly impossible. But the culprit was confident they could do it. This was because as the ultimate soccer player, they had absolute mastery over all types of balls. The rubber ball bounced across the room and right back to the entrance just as they planned. The culprit repeated this several times to make it look as if someone tied the rope by hand. And this is when another unexpected event happened. They must have failed to adjust the strength of their kicks because the rubber ball grew weaker and weaker after each bounce until it couldn't withstand the pressure and popped. This caused the liquid inside the ball to splatter all over the restroom, becoming a key piece of evidence. The culprit would have wanted to get rid of it, but they couldn't do it without going inside the restroom. The culprit nonetheless decides to go on with their plan. After all, they succeed in tying the rope to the pipe, and the method they used was virtually unimaginable for a normal person. After getting the rope around the pipe, the culprit removed the ball from the rope and attached the hook instead. Then they threw the hook around toward the pipe to fasten the rope on it. The other end of the rope that was left outside the restroom was wrapped around Kyoka's neck. The reason for this was to make it look like Kyoka was hanged inside the restroom. The culprit was hoping to make us think that Kyoka's murder was inside the girl's restroom and naturally was able to enter it as well. That way, men won't be considered suspects in the trial. The culprit, as a man, was trying to use this in their own favor. Everything was ready, and as the culprit was about to push Kyoka inside, they found a piece of paper in Kyoka's hand. It was a note they wrote, held tight in her hand even after her death. Having realized the note will be used against them if discovered, the culprit ripped the note out of her hand. They ripped it possibly because of rigor mortis, which made it difficult to pull it out. What the culprit didn't know was that most of the important parts of the note were still intact in the piece they left in Kyoka's hand. Thanks to the note, we found out she wasn't murdered in the restroom, which led to the conclusion that the culprit can be a man as well. After getting over the risky part, the culprit tried to get rid of the hammer and the rubber ball. But too much time had passed at this point, and it was early enough for some of us to get up. In a hurry, the culprit left their murder weapon and the burst rubber ball in the garbage dump. They would have wanted a safer option, but the time constraint gave them little time to think. They must have thought we won't find them if they put it alongside the trash. And it kind of worked, since Kakeru and I were the only ones to discover them. When we started coming out of our rooms, the culprit acted like they had just gotten up and waited for the body to be discovered. We soon noticed that Kyoka was nowhere to be seen. As we all know, we went looking around the entire building until Akane discovered. The horrible state Kyoko was in. Everyone froze in shock, and while pretending to do the same, the culprit secretly hid a smile at the outcome of their plan. The person who came up with this plan and tried to deceive us all. Was you, right? Mitsuhiro Higa. How was that, Mitch? Do you still have anything to say? He must have forgotten how to speak. Mikako? What kind of nonsense is that? This is just purely outrageous. Mitsuhiro, it's over. Please be honest. It's pointless for us to keep attacking each other. Mitsuhiro, was it really you? Why? Why'd you commit something like murder? No, it wasn't me. I'm not. It's not me. No, it's not me. Not me, not me. No, 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 no. That's probably not the correct set of notes. It wasn't me! Whoa, this idiot is going all crazy. OMG, Mitsuhiro has totally gone wacko. That was really a nice constant volume. Okay, I got like some B minus, B, A minus, B minus, C, B minus, A plus, B, A. 770. Lame. I did bad. 64 monocoins.
Huh? It looks like you're done. As the headmaster, let me say your discussion was packed with passion in a fashionable way. Passion and fashion? Are they the same, or are they different? Oh, who cares? Somehow that was in Korean, and I don't know. They got translated somehow. Who cares? You don't need any of those to live a good life anyway. So let's move on to voting time. You don't need any extra explanations, right? Pick the person that you believe is the blackhead. Everyone, make your choice using the switch in front of you. And one more thing, just as a reminder. Triple check that you voted for someone. If I ever see a blank ballot, you know what happens. I'm sure none of you would want to be punished for something so trivial like that. Okay, then let's get excited. Who will be chosen as the blackhead? Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
They do the speech.
Oh, bingo! The blackhead in this trial, that is, the murderer who killed Kyoka Maki, is none other than Mitsuhiro Higa.
What? Hold on. Mr. Higa, did you really? Mitch, why'd you kill her? Tell us. I was a big fan of yours. I liked soccer too. I admired your talent as a rising star. Why'd you have to cut it out and say something? Fine. I killed Kyoka Maki. Are you serious? Finally. Mitsuhiro, assuming everything we found out is true, you murdered Kyoka even though she wasn't your target. I'm not saying it was okay for you to set up a murder, but you could have quit and spared Kyoka when your plan went wrong. Why did you do that? Why are you so stubborn about killing someone? Kyoka did nothing to you. But I just had to get out of here after watching that video. That video? Just as I thought, that was the only possible answer. Stupid video. You mean the motive? Monokuma had shown us that DVD just yesterday. The contents must have been different from each student for each student, but every one of them seemed enough to drive a person toward despair. When I watched my video, I felt myself wrapped by a surge of emotion demanding me to escape here using any means possible. I even pondered the thought of murder. Mitch must have killed due to the same reason. I'm aware of how serious a crime this is. Even a million apologies won't be enough for what I did. But I had to do it. I had to get out of this place, and for that I had to murder.
Mitsuhiro, you bastard!
I don't know what you saw in your video, but can you even guess what was in mine? Every soccer stadium in the world being reduced to ashes. Terrorist attacks FIFA headquarters. Terrorist attacking FIFA headquarters, and world-class soccer players having gone missing. Well, I mean, if it was all gone, what's the point of getting out? On top of that, my home team was also... How could such a thing be possible? I'm sorry. That's exactly like my case. Oh. This can't be good. Yes, I've already read this. To Mitsuhiro, soccer would have been like the home where he belongs. Witnessing his own sweet home being completely destroyed would feel... Attack on FIFA HQ? Come on, you know that's utter nonsense. Right, it doesn't only pertain to yours, all of the videos have been manipulated. You shouldn't have fallen for this trap. I couldn't stop trembling after watching my video because it was as shocking and terrifying as yours. It wasn't just you. It was everyone's fight, even Kyoka's. Even though she watched the same absurd video, she was trying to overcome her shock.
You asshole!
I couldn't help it. Soccer is my everything. I'd even say it's more important than my life. You mean than my life? I know murder is wrong, but I just had to see with my own eyes if that video is real, even if it meant killing another person. Let me ask you one thing. Suppose that your plan went without a hitch and you got out. What if you found that video was forged? Then what were you going to do? You heard about the class trial and the entrance ceremony, didn't you? The victory of the Blackened is equivalent to the death of everyone minus the Blackened. My point is this, by setting off your murder plan, you opted to take the lives of us 14 for your own needs. But were you aware of the full weight of your choice, or at least prepared to face the consequences? I doubt it. You know what I want to say? You were nothing more than an ignorant moron who wanted to get out of here using soccer as an excuse. Of course, our videos were as shocking as yours, otherwise it wouldn't even be a motive. If that alone was sufficient to make a person murder, all of us would have done it by now. But in reality, you were the only one to commit murder. What do you think that made that difference? Could it be prioritizing your selfish desires over your so-called friends? Ray, stop it. Don't try to make this any more complicated. Are you telling me this idiot got shocked by the DVDs and just went on to murder someone without even being mentally prepared? No, I won't deny that, but soccer really was my everything.
Actually, it was pretty well planned out. He even managed to come up with a complex trick immediately after murdering Kyoka. Tsurugi being his initial target doesn't look like a coincidence either. You thought his talent would be the obstacle to your plan, didn't you?
Bullseye, I suppose. Right. From the beginning, Mitch was willing to murder, even without the motive. A malice beyond description. That's what took Kyoka's life. But, so what? Does it even matter? Monokuma was the ultimate ringleader behind all this. Monokuma is the one who drove Mitch to that point. You know what, Mitch? Right after watching the motive, Kyoka told me, Haru and Satsuki this. Murder, motives, anxiety, just push them to the side and have fun. That way we can all chill out and strengthen our bond. Kyoka probably got the same amount of shock as you, but she was trying to overcome the situation by getting everyone together. If she had a chance to talk with you yesterday, things could have been different.
Why, isn't it so frightening? Who would have guessed that world-class celebrity is nothing more than a bad-tempered coward? This is why you should never judge a book by its cover. No one would have ever thought the Michigo would murder.
What? What are you talking about? It's your fault. This entire situation, Mitch's murder, is all your fault. How could you even say that?
Ah, don't be so salty. What's done is done. Don't you got a carpe diem? What's up with that attitude? If you're trying to fight me, give up. You'll probably be hanging out with your dead friend anyway. Besides, you guys don't scare me at all.
Shut up, Monokuma. I don't know where you got the balls for that, but someday I'll bring you to justice myself.
Tsurugi might be an exception. Gee, look how long you guys have been holding me back. We better get started.
Started on what?
The punishment! What else would it be? I told you, punishment awaits the loser of the class trial.
Punishment? You mean execution? Just give me a sec. Of course I'm guilty. I deserve death. I deserve any kind of punishment. I know I can't even make up for my crime. But still, are you really gonna kill me? Sure, I killed Kyoka, but isn't this a bit different? Seriously, you're gonna take my life? I can explain. I really must have been crazy. I'm sorry. I'll never do that again. I can rot in jail for the rest of my life. Just don't kill me. You have to understand that Monokuma, or the Mastermind, is not an agent of justice. It doesn't care. He or she doesn't care. The point is the entertainment value of killing you. Nothing to do with justice at all, sir. Yeah, I'll do anything you want. You can have all the money I earned for playing soccer, okay? I don't want to die! Help me! I'll do anything but dying! I beg you, please don't kill me! Hey guys, do something. I'm gonna die for real. This is not a joke. Notwithstanding Mitch's desperate cries, everyone turned their heads away from him, including myself. What is this? Are you scared of dying? Weren't you ready for this when you became a Blackened? Above all, you disputed order, disrupted order. You killed Kyoka. Whatever the laws outside may be, the rule here is simple. An eye for an eye. A death for a death. No matter what you do, you can't avoid punishment. Once you're revealed to be the Blacken, you are punished! This is an ironbound rule. Now, save your breath and let us begin. I certainly wouldn't want my students to procrastinate. So, I prepared a special punishment for the Blacken, Mitsuhiro Higa, the ultimate soccer player. No, go away, go away. And I'm actually pausing coding here and come back because I want to make sure I have, like, the environment all set up when I watch this so I don't get walked in on. So, it'll jump. The music will have a skip in it. Okay, time to finish this off. So, no! Go away! Go away! Something like that.
Let's give it everything we've got. It's punishment time!
Big no. For some reason, I don't feel like screaming no right now. I don't know why. I just didn't want to. So somehow there's an entire soccer field in the basement or something? I presume there would be a soccer field adjunct to Hope's Peak because it's a high school. So it just happened outside. Just straight up. But then, like, it's one of those things with Danganronpa that's not supposed to make sense. Like how they can show evidence from somehow outside the courtroom, somehow. Eeha! That's it, yes! This thrill! This excitement! You can only feel this at punishment time! Even though you've only done like one of them. Except, who knows, maybe. Mitch is dead. It happened in an instant. Mitsuhiro Higa, who was alive and breathing merely minutes ago, now greeted us in death amid scorching flames across the screen. Despair. That's exactly what came up in our mind. Mitsuhiro committed murder. Of course he was unforgivable. But this is too harsh. We have to keep doing this? I can't. Anyone, please, get me out of here.
If you don't want this, don't kill. None of these would happen if you simply stopped caring about the outside. After all, it was Mitsuhiro's own selfish desire that led him to murder. You guys were the ones responsible for this. But how could we just forget about the outside world? It's just impossible. Monokuma, what is your intention? What do you get from committing this heinous act? Intention? Indian? Huh? What is that? Sounds too hard for me. Nobody cares anyway. You don't have to know it. Just heed to my words and all will be fine. Besides, you don't understand a word even if I tell you. Not even the slightest bit about what's going on right now. A total waste of time, right? You son of a... Oh no, how intimidating. Well then, case closed. This class trial is officially over. Everyone, rest in peace. Hey, wait. He's gone. Damn it, what are we supposed to do now? Go back up the elevator? In silence, everyone kept staring at the spot where Monokuma was standing. Although the class trial was over, none of us looked eager to leave the courtroom. After losing 2 friends on a single day and realizing escape is still far out of our reach, we couldn't help but freeze in despair. Everyone, we need to stay calm. If we lose hope here, we won't be able to accomplish anything. But my legs ain't moving after watching that execution. How are we supposed to stay calm when our friend has met such a horrible end? Friend? Who is this friend you're talking about? What? Ha! Who else can it be besides Mitsuhiro? You're calling him a friend? I don't get it. Are you calling a murderer your friend? What's wrong with you? Tsurugi, sure, Mitsuhiro killed Kyoka, and he deserved punishment, but he was still our friend for the past few days, right? Yes, he was. Was he your friend? I don't know about that. Yes, he was. Now he's only a criminal who got what he deserved for committing the worst possible crime on Earth. What's so surprising about that? You may argue that Mitsuhiro deserved the death penalty, but do you condone Monokuma's actions? Are you condoning Higa's murder? Yes, Monokuma killing him was also murder. Monokuma is a criminal worthy of death too. But letting Higa live would be just as absurd. There ought to be retribution for every murder. Are you saying you're glad that Mitch died? Of course! No murderer has the right to live, regardless of how many times they've killed. What? Sure, Tsurugi had said he despises criminals more than anything else, and that's his dream is to end all crime. His dream is to end all crime in the world. But still, saying he's glad for someone's death, even if that someone was a murderer, that's insane. Would you also say killing a murderer is acceptable? No way, if you kill a criminal, then you'd be a criminal too, however. Wasn't Monokuma already a criminal to start with? When did I say I'll excuse Monokuma's actions? I'm just saying he got the thing he deserved. I loathe that bear scum more than anything, but there's one thing he said I can agree on. An eye for an eye, a death for a death. That is my motto as a police officer. Lunatic.
Is it a bit problematic for a police officer to say that?
Why would it be problematic? I think the real problem is with the current legal system. I'm going to work hard to change the laws in this country. No, the entire world. I'll create a world where no one can dare commit a crime. That's why I need to get out of this place. Same goes for you all. Stop thinking about that killer and strategize on how we'll fight Monokuma. I'm not supporting Mitsuhiro, but something is definitely wrong with you. Wrong? To me, the way you're acting is wrong. Don't you realize you're already improving his actions by caring about his death? Criminal or not, somebody just died. How can you react like that when a human being was murdered right in front of you? How could I? Well, criminals don't count as human beings for me. Leader? Tsurugi, what happened to you? You weren't like this. What do you mean? I was like this the entire time. I'm just giving some advice to those who are being overly hysterical. Of course, I am aware that I am ultimately the one to blame. Kyoka wouldn't have died if I was more alert. Therefore, from now on, I won't ever allow another murder to happen in the school. No matter what it takes. It's my duty to protect you all, isn't it? You... Stop. Mikako? She spoke. Everyone's exhausted. Let us go to our rooms and rest. Calm down, we can talk again tomorrow. Right, this mind-blowing incident got us all heated up. Let's cool our heads and talk again tomorrow. Fine, I don't think you could think logically in this condition either. And thus, our first-class trial came to a close on the worst possible note. If it wasn't for Mikako, we might have broke into a fight. Okay, so we got all kinds of, like, spooky Nagitos going on here. Got a bunch of two evil point persons, Rei and Tsurugi. Both of them are, like, people who tend to know the answer before everyone else. And before the protag even, and are both crazy. Somehow I feel like everyone went crazy. No, I might be the one who's crazy. Two of us died on a single day. It would be weird to not go crazy. Will we ever get out of this place? Will we ever escape this monstrous killing game? We took the elevator back to the school building and quietly dismissed ourselves. The atmosphere felt heavy, and a feeling of distrust seemed to pervade everywhere, like it did on our first day. Everything that happened today already feels like memories of a distant past. Surrounded by a bizarre environment, my sense of reality was slowly fading away. The day I left home for Hope's Peak Academy a week prior to today seemed like it was from a long time ago. I couldn't even recall how my parents looked like. My family. Kyoka, the trial, Mitch, execution, Tsurugi. My brain drifted in confusion as these thoughts kept swirling in my mind. Another friendly neighborhood policeman. No. We made it through our first-class trial, the very embodiment of despair, without achieving anything. But this was merely the beginning of despair. Yay. Thank you for playing. You have reached the end of the demo. You may choose to save your progress here, which will allow you to continue from this point in future releases. Would you like to save your progress? Yes. I'll save it in data 12. You'll be returned to the title screen. Okay, so it doesn't just continue. It does not, in fact, just continue into Korean. It stops. Okay. So Kira, now I know. Which is probably not how you should do this translation. If you do the translation, you should, like, gradually advance the text. You should leave the original there if you finish translating. So I'm going to go back. And can I forgot how you do a RAR file. Is it WinZip? .rar file. Hold on. Okay, so I should be able to use 7-zip on a RAR file. 7-zip. Waiting. Come on. This... Okay. go into. I actually went to Western, Eastern, visual novels, Danganronpas, Danganronpa another, and then going English translations, the updated RAR. Got it. Go back up. I need extract. Let's see if all the file names are in Korean. It's looking good. Okay, now I'm gonna close the game. Bye-bye. And let's launch the this build. Here we go. No. Waiting. Here. Unsupported PNG image. Okay. We're going to try to use Easy RPG. Okay. So, try to explain what's going on here next. So, I'm going to modify my source. It's going to take to this. Okay. And then these are a little bit bigger. They're not symmetrical. That's close. It's not, but not quite right. Okay, there we go. So this is, there's no music. The apparently kind of low quality, oh, here we go. The rather low quality, apparently, Google Translate, machine translate style, translation of 2 through 6. Let's see what GameStar will actually drop us into, though. Okay, now I have these opening screens that we saw translated to English in the chapter 1 build I was just playing, but they are not translated here. But you can refer to the beginning of my first video on SDRA to see the English translation of those. Chapter 4 bypass. You want to skip to chapter 5. Start from chapter 2, bypass to chapter 5, return to title screen. That's probably because there's probably a crash in chapter 4. We'll see what happens there. Okay, so it starts from this. So I'm going to click through a few here. This is Yuki's Nightmare, right? He wakes up. I'm gonna reread this eventually. Okay. Sorry, I don't want. I'm doing this as like a technical thing. I don't want to. Not really interested in like doing this for like really seriously, so I'm trying to spam through. Okay, here we go. Hello, this is the translator's note. First, I'd like to thank you for playing this version of the game. There's bound to be typos and miswording, since this is just my own personal translation of the story of Danganronpa Another. This will include most of the characters in this story, chapters in the story, which it's translated starting since 2021 and 2022 from Korean to English, MTL, and rewritten. Oh, and you will be given a little boost in skills since Chapter 1 is not in this build. You can use these medals to buy your skills. 2 out of Monokuma. Word of advice, there's a secret items in which you can get from the mono machine to unlock events in Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. Thank you once again and have fun. Now, is this flavor text translated? No, it's not. So that's what, yeah, I was told. It's like this stuff, these things in this build are like not translated. It's just, you know, whatever. It's the same thing with the free time events. They're not translated in this build. Okay, now I understand this build. I'm going to try to explain what I'm going to do next. So let's open up another build. We're just going to keep opening builds here. Oh, I'm waiting. Okay, hold in there.
Danganronpa.
Okay, let me change my source here. So this right here, this build, is the original game by Linju. And it's not actually cropped right, so I will need to fix that. Hold on. Close enough. Okay. Go? Yeah. The opening just like you saw in the chapter 2 to 6 build. Okay. So this is the original build. This is what the original build looks like. So probably, it's going to take a while to record the next one. Probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to spam through the original build until I get to where I left off on the chapter 1 build. And then I'm going to go through the chapters 2 through 6 using both builds. Both the original game, published by Linju, and this weird, translation that's like half translated, at the same time somehow. It's gonna be kind of janky and weird. You're gonna wonder why I did it that way. But that's probably how I'm gonna do it. So, anyway, until I do that, well, I hope you enjoyed that, basically. And eventually I'll come out with another part.